On May 16, 1992, famous singer Chalino Sanchez was on stage and was handed a note from someone in the crowd. Chalino read the note and looked a little stressed. Chalino crunched up the note in his hands and continued on to put on the best show of his career. At the time, no one knew what was written on the note, but things were about to take a dark turn. Chalino finished the show and got in a car with two of his brothers. As they were driving, another car signaled for Chalino to pull over. The men got out of the car and identified themselves as police officers and said Chalino needs to go with them. Chalino then got into the car, and that was the last time anyone saw Chalino alive. The next morning, a few farmers saw a body nearby. As they got closer, they realized it was the body of Chalino, brutalized. Chalino was blindfolded with his hands tied behind his back and two execution-style bullet wounds in the back of his head. There's no exact confirmation about what exactly happened on that night, but there's lots of rumors. The rumor with the most credibility goes something like this. The show was in Culiacan, Sinaloa. The Sinaloa cartel had a problem with Chalino and went after him. A man who went by El Chalo was assigned to kidnap Chalino and talk some sense into him. After Chalino was kidnapped and in the car with El Chalo, they brought him to a secluded area. The men wanted to humiliate Chalino, but it was hard. You see, even though Chalino was a small-statured singer, he had a rough upbringing and he had a chip on his shoulder. El Chalo ordered Chalino to get on his knees and kiss his boots. Chalino said he would only kiss the boots of God or his mother. This angered El Chalo, so he threatened to kill him. Chalino thought long and hard about this as he realized he was in the hands of a very dangerous man. Chalino then made a decision and looked at El Chalo in his eyes. It said something along the lines of, "Go fuck yourself." This angered El Chalo, then Chalino was killed shortly after. It was later revealed the note he received on stage simply stated if he played the show it would be his last. But why would someone want to kill a Mexican singer? A lot of questions were arising from this. Similarly, today, Mexican musicians such as Peso Pluma and Freza Regeda are receiving threats by the cartel. This has always been a theme in Mexican music, and it's something that still happens to this day. To fully understand this, we need to dive into the history of Mexican music and why these musicians in particular stay in the crosshairs of the cartel. You see, one thing Chalino, Peso Pluma, and Freza Regeda all have in common is the style of music they play. They play traditional Mexican music genre known as corridos. Despite the lyrics and the style of corridos music being innocent and lighthearted, there's a sinister theme in the music that gets these musicians either threatened or killed. You see, corridos music is all about storytelling, telling the story of the people living in Mexico. In a way, corridos music was like the newspaper for a lot of people. It reported on the Mexican people's life, history, story, and culture. This also helped people who were unable to read or write learn about what's going on in the country around them. In a way, corridos is similar to rap music. Rap music used to be a lot about living in poverty and the struggles the rappers had to deal with on a daily basis. It wasn't long before violence, drugs, and crime was a huge part of rap music. Well, it's the same as the corridos genre. It's documenting the lifestyle of people who oftentimes are around violence, drugs, and crime. Corridos would also tell stories about outlaws and bandits that would fight in the wars and start revolutions in Mexico. Just like gangster rap keeps people engaged with their gang-infested and violent stories, corridos does the same type of thing. Anyway, it wasn't long before the cartel in Mexico wanted to be involved in this genre. Don't get me wrong, they didn't want to play the music, but they wanted to have the music about them. Cartels started paying these corridos musicians money and valuables to make music about them. Even if the musicians didn't want to make music about the cartels and respectfully declined the offer, they would be killed. In famous sayings of Pablo Escobar, silver or lead. Cartels see this as a way of establishing their dominance around Mexico, but also spreading their propaganda. At one point, the Mexican and US government banned corridos from being played on the radio, as it was glorifying cartels and cartel violence. You see, early in the Chileno's career, he was offered a large sum of money and jewelry to make a song about a cartel. He went ahead and made the song. This is the main speculation on why Chileno was murdered that night. Not that he hurt anybody, but he made music about a cartel which pissed off the rival cartel. This has been a theme in corridos music all the way up to the current year 2024. Take Peso Pluma for an example. Peso Pluma rose to fame, making music mainly about girls and love. Very innocent topics at first. But Peso Pluma making corridos music, he wanted to pay homage in a way to the genre. On February 3rd, 2022, Peso Pluma's music went down a dark turn. He released a single named El Belicon with an artist named Raul Vega. This song is not about love. No. It was about cartels. In the video, you can see the singers toting automatic weapons, surrounded by guns, drugs, and women. With lyrics talking about the life of a cartel member and the adventures they go on. It quickly became a huge hit, as it was an extremely traditional sound. Well, a few months later, Peso Pluma doubled down on this and released a song called Siempre Panditas, which translates to always pending. In the video, it's similar to the other one, but the lyrics bring it to a whole nother level, which would get him in trouble. He continuously praises El Chapo and the Sinaloa cartel, saying he would defend them and welcome them. The cover art is also a pistol with El Chapo's initials engraved on the gun, which is a very popular thing to do. If you look at the cover art, it's a gun with JGL engraved in it. That stands for Joaquin Guzman Lopez, which is El Chapo's government name. Well, see, this ruffled the feathers of many cartels, mainly the rivals of the Sinaloa cartel. And this is what made Peso Pluma get in the crosshairs of the cartel, mainly the Jalisco New Generation cartel. Despite something like this being taken lightly in other parts of the world, in a place like Mexico where cartels are violent and they fight for power on a daily basis, a famous singer picking sides is going to ruffle some feathers. At one point, there is even a female Mexican singer who was invited to perform at El Chapo's son's wedding. She respectfully declined as she didn't want to be involved in anything related to the cartel. Well, the cartel ended up killing her for this. Back to Peso Pluma. He realized he ruffled some feathers with these two songs he made and started to distance himself from making music about cartels, but the damage was already done. Just a month after making that infamous hit song that paid tribute to the Sinaloa cartel, Peso Pluma was on tour and he had a show in Tijuana, Mexico. The Jalisco New Generation cartel made a banner stating if Peso Pluma plays the show, it's gonna be his last show. Peso Pluma made the right decision and canceled the show in Tijuana. It's crazy to think. Back in 1992, Chileno got the note telling him if he plays the show, it's gonna be the last show. And now in 2023, Peso Pluma got a banner saying if he plays this show, it's going to be his last show. But that's just how the cartels operate. As far as now, Peso Pluma is safe and thriving in his musical career. Obviously, he's avoiding some areas in Mexico where he's not welcomed, and he stays away from making corridos music with cartel references. One more instance of musicians receiving threats from the cartel is the band Fresa Regida. Fresa Regida is a 5-man band which plays traditional corridos Mexican music, but also incorporates elements of rap and trap music. They started to get a buzz in 2023 with hits like Saber Fresa and TKM. See, in the song TKM, that's where things started to take a dark turn. The lead singer made a reference to El Chapo and his son Ivan. Well, once again, this ruffled the feathers of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. The Jalisco New Generation cartel can't have both Peso Pluma and Fresa Regida on the Sinaloa cartel's side. So once again, when Fresa Regida had a show booked in Tijuana, the Jalisco New Generation cartel respectfully told them to fuck off. I'm kidding, it wasn't in those words. But they posted a banner stating if they performed this show, it's going to be their last show. The band then canceled the show, and today they're still thriving. To conclude, despite the cartel not having much to do with the music industry, they have a long history of paying musicians to spread their propaganda and promote their cartel. And if any musician makes references to the cartel, they're going to be in the crosshairs of rival cartels. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.